Hello everyone, it's me again, Joseph, your host, and welcome back to our channel and the Catechism for Kids. As the Advent season surrounds us, there's one carol that seems to perfectly capture the feeling of hopeful waiting. It's haunting. Ancient melody echoes through churches and homes, a sound that feels like it has been sung for centuries. And that's because it has. Today we're diving deep into the beautiful history of one of the oldest and most beloved Advent carols, O come, Emmanuel. You might be surprised to learn that this powerful hymn comes directly from the heart of the Catholic Church's most ancient prayer traditions. So where does this incredible piece of music come from? To find its origins, we need to travel back in time, long before it was ever written down in a modern hymn book. We're talking about a history that stretches back over 1,000 years to the monasteries of the early medieval church. The lyrics we sing today are a beautiful, poetic translation of what are known as the O Antiphons. What are the O Antiphons? They're a set of 7 ancient chants, each one beginning with the word O. These aren't just any chants. They are profound prayers that have been sung or recited as part of the Church's Liturgy of the Hours, specifically during evening prayer. For the last 7 days of Advent, from December 17th to December 23rd, this tradition goes back to at least the 8th century. Each antiphon addresses Jesus with a different prophetic title taken from the Old Testament, particularly from the book of Isaiah. These titles build upon each other, creating a crescendo of anticipation for the coming of the Messiah. Let's look at these titles. They are O Sapientia, which means O Wisdom; O Adonai, meaning O Lord and Ruler; O Radix Jesse, or O Root of Jesse; O Clavis David, the O Key of David; O Oriens, which means O Dayspring, or Morning Star; O Rex Gentium, meaning O King of the Nations; and finally, on December 23rd, O Emmanuel, which, as the hymn tells us, means God with us. Each one of these titles highlights a different aspect of who Jesus is and what his coming means for the world. For example, O Root of Jesse refers to the prophecy in Isaiah that the Messiah would come from the family line of Jesse, King David's father. O Key of David speaks of his power to open the gates of heaven and set us free. It's a beautiful week-long meditation on the identity of our Savior. So how did these 7 monastic chants become the song we know and love today? Sometime around the 12th century, an unknown but brilliant author took these prose antiphons and masterfully wove them into a single metrical Latin hymn. The verses we sing are direct paraphrases of these ancient prayers. The first verse, O come, Emmanuel, is based on the final antiphon. The verse, O come, thou Rod of Jesse, comes from O Radix Jesse. O come, thou Dayspring, is from O Oriens. And O come, thou Key of David, is from O Clavis David. The original Latin hymn was called Veni, Emmanuel, and it included a powerful refrain that we still sing, Gode, Emmanuel Nascitur, Prote, Israel, which means, rejoice, rejoice. Emmanuel shall be born for you, O Israel. For centuries, this Latin hymn was primarily sung within monastic communities. Its first known appearance in a printed book was in a German hymnal in 1710, which contained 5 of the verses. But the version most of us are familiar with in English has a much more recent history, tied to a 19th century revival of interest in ancient church traditions. Enter John Mason Neale, an Anglican priest and hymnologist living in the Victorian era. Neale was passionate about rediscovering and translating ancient Greek and Latin hymns for modern English-speaking congregations. In 1851, he published his translation, which he originally titled Draw Nigh, Emmanuel. He captured the solemn, yearning spirit of the original Latin text, using powerful phrases like ransom captive Israel that mourns in lonely exile here. His work made these ancient prayers accessible to a much wider audience. The version we sing today is a slight refinement of Neale's work, which was included in the hugely influential 1861 hymnal. Hymns ancient and modern, solidifying its place in Christmas worship across the world. Now what about the music? The melody is just as ancient and mysterious as the lyrics. Titled Veni Emmanuel, the tune is a plain song, also known as Gregorian chant. This is the earliest form of singing in the Western Church, chant accompanied monophonic, with a free-flowing rhythm that follows the natural cadence of the words. This style of music is designed to be prayerful and contemplative, to lift the heart and mind to God, The specific melody we use is believed to have been adapted from a 15th century French processional chant, which was, interestingly enough, associated with funeral processions. This might explain its somber, minor key feel. It creates a sound that is both sorrowful and hopeful, perfectly capturing the feeling of Advent's, the longing of a world waiting in darkness for the light of Christ. It was an English musician named Thomas Helmore who harmonized this ancient melody and paired it with John Mason Neale's translation in 1854, giving us the complete hymn we now cherish. When we look closely at the lyrics, we see a profound story unfolding. The first verse speaks of captive Israel, mourning in lonely exile. This is a direct reference to the historical Babylonian exile, but it's also a metaphor for the spiritual state of humanity, held captive by sin and waiting for a savior. The hymn reflects the expectations of the people of Israel who were waiting for a Messiah prophesied to come and liberate them. Another verse mentions God giving the law on Mount Sinai, connecting the longing for a savior back to the covenant with Moses. However, the hymn beautifully expands this expectation. The people of Israel were largely expecting a political, kingly Messiah who would free them from earthly powers. But the carol points to a far greater victory. It speaks of a Messiah who will give them victory, over the grave. This is the radical, unexpected gift of Jesus. He didn't just come to be a king for one nation. He came to defeat sin and death for all of humanity. The final verse says he will bind all peoples in one heart and mind. The hymn brilliantly asserts that while Jesus may not have been the Savior everyone was expecting, he is the Messiah for Israel and for all the nations of the world. So what's the lesson for us, especially for our kids, in all of this history? This carol teaches us that Advent is a season of active waiting, of deep longing, and of unwavering hope. Just as God's people waited for centuries for the first coming of Jesus, we now wait for his second coming. When we sing, O come, Emmanuel, we are not just singing a pretty Christmas song, or joining our voices to a prayer that has been echoing through the church for over 1,200 years. We are connecting with countless generations of Christians who have felt that same longing in their hearts. We are praying with the saints in the monasteries, with the early Christians, and with believers all over the world today. We are reminding ourselves that Emmanuel means God with us, and we are asking him to come and be with us, to free us from our own captivities, and to fill our hearts with his light and peace. This Advent, as you hear or sing this timeless carol, remember its incredible journey. From the ancient O Antiphons, chanted in medieval monasteries, to the Latin hymn of the 12th century, to the English translation of the Victorian era, O come, Emmanuel, is a treasure of our faith. It's a catechism lesson set to music, teaching us who Jesus is and why we wait for him with such joy and hope. Thank you so much for joining me on this historical journey. I hope it gives you a new appreciation for this beautiful Advent tradition. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more stories behind our favorite hymns and traditions. May your Advent be filled with hopeful waiting and joyful anticipation. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Stay healthy and hungry for holiness. See you next time, and God bless you always.